All right. Hassan could have bought an Italian village. Many people have never heard that there was a story about an affordable, for millionaires, Italian village in the mountains. See, nobody lived there anymore, and there was nobody really to run things any longer, and they kind of needed somebody who was take charge of a city, or at least own most of the property of it. Cantillon discusses such things like this. Now, who knows? Very likely, probably a Chinese firm went in. I didn't even realize for a generation, the Chinese have been very interested in Italy, especially northern Italy. But anyway, heavily interested. So this kind of thing where you have people investing in land, betting on whether it's going to pay off, whether people will stay there or not, that's a tough game. I mean, you got to attract people to places. So after so many generations, this is why you have old people that you ask things of, where they could tell you why some place unexpectedly became the hot spot, and then one day it was just not the hot spot. And it's good to know these things. It's good to know that San Francisco had its ups and downs over maybe a couple centuries, and how they had gained their ups and then what came with the downs, so that you could recognize this kind of thing. You could see a pattern form, and you're like, I heard stories about the old days. And it was a lot like this. What's happening now? Things got real bad. So, the left is facing something that I did not even think you could pull off. And that is sort of this neo-Detroitification or Detroitification of, say, Portland, even San Diego, Santa Barbara, places like that, which at a certain point I realized, I'm like, no. That land becomes too valuable. And then there's also the part of my mind that I'm like, plus, there's a certain cultural element known to me that in that region of California, that at a certain point they are inevitably going to become like kind of activated against chaos befalling the area. It tends to be in the eastern, like the high deserts, the rural parts, the outside of the most major cities, that you find these people who, that when you look into the, like, at the end of the world, who's going to be this guy with the hockey mask talking about the gas? Just give us the gas, That he's probably going to come from one of these counties. See, because I know I try to map out my limitations. Here's my limitations. Let me map out. If I extend my limitations logically, I'm going to disturb all the crows. Oh, because hot as shit. You guys, no, here, I'll go this way. I'll go this way. No, I won't bother you guys. It's okay. Just stay in the shade. You're okay. Oh, the poor crows. I freaked them out. They were all in the shade. See, now they're flying off. See, oh, what he had. Yeah, there you see. You can see them all in the shade. It's nice. They don't want to be now. They're up to something. Murder of crows. Up to something. You know those crows. That's not appropriate. That's inappropriate humor. So, I've been watching these a variety of different kind of the reactions to things now that are coming from the left of center, and at this stage, it's increasingly bizarre. I mean, just these kind of tells in it that, Cindy Sweeney and Charlie Kirk and South Park, and that it's starting to become so strained. This idea that Jimmy Kimmel and, not Ben Stiller. That's so funny. I go to Ben Stiller instead of the other guy. The other Jewish guy, you know, the liberal Jew, but no, just overall, I mean, like all the funny man, as all the funny men, all the TV funny men, as our friend Black Pigeon speaks. See, Black Pigeon speaks. He has the pigeons. I have my precious crows. My phalanstery of crows. So the left has now this issue of you've embraced sort of this shockingly foolish view of humanity. You seem to not have the capacity to listen to your opponents to even the point that maybe knowing what they would... It's weird. Oh well, it's probably okay. What's going on here? Let me show you this. I've never seen that before. I mean, that's quite a murder. Maybe I just haven't been out here during this. This is intense heat. Very intense heat. Oh, that tree. Okay. Wow. Look at that. Okay, that's once in a lifetime stuff right there. Let's see what's going on over here. Oh, they got a little eating spot. Well, that's nice. That's nice. Then they go and they rest in the water. Well, that's quite wonderful. The person in the trailer there, they understand. Good on them. Good on you. You're all looking quite good. Yeah. Pose for the camera. Yes. That was beautiful. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Whew. It's intensely hot out here. Yes. People bumping music. Birds out. Wondering what's going on. They're like, what? There's somebody out here? What kind of maniac would be out here in like 102 weather? This maniac. The left has posted all of these things about eugenics that it's just the strangest irony. that I'm going through in my mind of like, well, but you know, you positive eugenics was even a braggadocio of the Democrats within the last 20 years. Of we might have saved this many hundreds of thousands to millions of people from growing up in terrible poverty if they had not been aborted. I remember this argument clearly. This is something that the right had mocked into recent, very recent memory. And the left doesn't want to deal with. That's just positive eugenics. And then what clearly ends up becoming the best argument of all about eugenics is, aren't colleges in themselves often set up so that people can assort by class and then breed a certain way? Please try to assert something otherwise. What is happening here? Check this out. Little extra challenge of some sort. And the ducks are taking it. Ducks are like, yes, this is great. Hanging out. Cold chilling. Don't know what this is about. Two legs did this, and it's fun. Cold chilling. The two-leggers. Oh my god, so many two-leggers out. Literally, two-leggers out playing sports. Oh yeah, that's crazy. We're crazy people. We're crazy monkeys. So the left ends up having these views now that, I just can't even understand how you could kind of be this person who's sort of smart and cool with these views. I can understand the idea that maybe you're young, you don't know a lot yet, and it's really like kind of a road to discovery. There's a guy I quite specifically think about from my youth who he became he worked for like a humongo corporation, like the big deal corporation. He's doing big deal stuff. Dude's rich. Dad was a very successful lawyer, from what I understood in the short meeting we had when I was younger. And it's one of these things that I've come to start really walking through as I watch, especially a lot of these mobster shows. And so I started to walk through something that my teacher had said about being raised in that culture. And being in that culture, he was talking about, no, none of these gangsters exist anymore, though. All of their kids are lawyers, bankers, they're in finance. Like they didn't put their kids aren't in life. And it's because it all of this kind of stuff, opportunities. It took me then to fill this in. That's what he said. Then I filled in as the years have gone on. Because such people don't get, there's a number of female politicians with Italian names in the Democratic Party that if you knew from the older days like I did, they came from the life. That's how they got their daughter into it. Like that, really. And everyone knew it. Everyone understood. But eventually she was going to have to, at some point, prove to be good at some shit. In some way. Capable in some sense, politically. And it was an understood Democratic thing. Because that's how life is. That's the way the world works. That's how it is. That's how it goes. The Republicans, you thought of them as sort of naively believing the system is supposed to work according to the rules and a set of beliefs and the system and da da da. Well, as you get older and you kind of, and somebody like me, where I was very well aware of, like, why is it that so many people get older and they become Republicans? They finally give up on the Democratic Party, something the Democratic Party does. And that's always amorphous. They don't really like discussing it. That was a tough part. That was, again, something that it took me to fill in. And filling it in was a cultural thing because nobody wanted to say something that would divide me from my mother and my father. Because that was the issue with the Democrats. All my folks came from Chicago. My mother was the one who made it clear certain cultural differences that she did not approve of. And that we couldn't raise you in Chicago because of this. That's why we raised you out here. And she was resentful and spiteful and cruel and venomous in a way that I never expected, never had seen. Once you get older, and like somebody like me, where everybody's by 22 everyone's dead. By 23 pretty much everyone's dead. So I'm like, okay, so I'm putting together these conversations in my 40s, in my late 30s, looking at the internet. And I'm getting it. I'm getting what these guys are talking about on all kinds of sides of really the anonymous internet. They don't have to offer their stories. They don't have to offer their examples. But they do. And they understand. Or they don't. Maybe crack some jokes. It is what it is. You're on the internet. You're all, fucking around on the internet. Well, a lot of the left has underestimated the power of that. The democratizing of the internet makes it a pub, not some great Grecian, some great Dorian fantasy of, and then we shall discuss great ideas over wine and hard cheese, and no, I'm going to say something that's probably going to take a bite out of you, mate. And I'm going to see how you're going to react. Because I want to know if I'm talking to a fucking serious, mind here. Because if you react like a bitch, then what? I don't got dog food. And everyone gets this about, and so the whole South Park reaction, Charlie Kirk thing, that's like, of course he would laugh. Of course he would get into it because he's fucking gotten kicked in the ribs by all of us. We fucking decimated this cat. And he came back. And not only did he come back, he's like, I'm going to come back and I'm going to just start smacking hoes around all over the United States. And so it's like one of these things like, yeah, you're going to have to get tough. You got to get tough because life isn't fucking fair. Otherwise, it would just be about a number. You reach it, and boom, you get to go to the seventh dhyana. You get to like the Buddha getting his hair cut. You get to go. You get to go to the fucking seventh heaven. It just so I'm thinking now about this, how This is going to be a cultural shock for a lot of the left in the long run. That's going to it's going to be fascinating to see the artwork that comes from it. That really, I'm kind of fascinated to see. Already, we get to see Hassan and other, like, I don't know, male repellent outfits and stuff like that. But we get to see Hassan. And Hassan's got these, totally ridiculous outfits that are just, you're just like, what are you doing? Come on. They're really expensive, though. And then it becomes this thing of like, okay, seriously, do you all not get how normy you are demanding things to be? This is what got me on this. These shit boxes. It's a box I shit in. I pay them rent. I shit in this box. This is the box I shit in. I don't own it. Fuck that. It's my shit box. So I remember once thinking about this. This one time in the Northwest with my friends from way back. And we checked into this rumor about some of the local flora. And in checking in on this local flora, seeing if the rumors were correct, I came to this great conclusion. Oh my gosh. If I'm going to take shit, I only have one box that I can shit in. And everyone looked at me and said, what are you talking about? I said, check it out. Because I live in this dorm and blah, blah. I can only use one at a time. It's not like I could reserve the whole bathroom or anything like that. A lot of ellipsis going on here. I have one box I can shit in. I have a box I can have my shit in, but yet the box I shit in is quite separate from that one. And everyone thought this. I remember at some point somebody years later reminding me of this profound idea, but apparently it did really kind of jar their minds. Like, that is true, isn't it? You're paying this much money, and you are only allowed to shit there. In the whole world. Everywhere else. You shit it. You take a dump anyplace else, and you're in a lot of trouble. Oh, that's so terrible. You got one place that you've already paid for the shitter there. And so I started looking at a lot of housing, and there's this character in my mind who's basically kind of an old East Coast Jewish guy descended from people maybe from like Poland or Ukraine or something, or something. And they look at things, and I have to fight a lot of times this voice in my mind. But there's times where it speaks through, and I'm like, damn it, ow. Why does it hurt so much when I listen to this voice in my mind? Like, shitbox. And so much design that has come out within my time is shitbox. That, this is a nice box to shit in. But I mean, anything else, who knows? It seems to be designed based on space and material efficiency in a way that would, maybe it'll work. But then you see various kinds of images of people. You'll see people demonstrate what their life is like in their apartment, and you're sitting there and you're going, why was that designed that way? Like, why aren't the cabinets there instead. And more, there's places there's a lot of things over the years I've seen that I'm like, you would think there's a school of design that's like, no. If you do it this way, though it seems to waste space now, it actually is a way of better setting up the space to use. Like, there's a way that even my workspace, I'm like, no, they should have designed it this way. And then they wouldn't have these problems. Like this would, in every way, would be easier. And then it hit me, no, I'm betting there's rules against this. And now more and more, I'm falling back on that. There's a rule. It could be or have been totally valid. Don't have this near this. You can't put these things in proximity. This has to be this many feet away from this. But more and more, I'm just kind of like, if we are finding out suddenly humans aren't necessary for work, how much are regulations really benefiting us? Like, really, why is this a holy sacrosanct thing of the left? They don't know why the regulations are the way they are. They don't really understand. Like, the key to it, climate change, we actually don't understand a thing that is the mechanics of a phenomena called wind. 10 feet in elevation, we don't understand how the mechanics of that work. We can't design a computer that can calculate it. So, why are we betting on that? Why are we thinking that we will be able, if we just had more bureaus, if we just had more women punching up numbers, getting lattes, getting an omelet, doing some yoga, getting some focused work time in. Millennial bitch with a bob. Millennial bitch with a bob. I'm all about the little bitty titties in a bob girl. I love Asians. I'm totally in. Yeah, it's totally wrong. But anyway, that's the one I'm like, God damn it. Who the fuck is that? Who's little bitty titties in a bob? That's, well, I mean, you're not giving yourself credit, dear. And do you have any junk in that trunk? Anyway. So, we're counting too much again on, like in just a different era, on sort of a realm of theory that we don't have a lot of proof of yet. We have some proof of, like with gender. We have nothing. No metric system of it whatsoever. It's not science. It's mostly a type of psychological theory, a psychotherapeutic term. It's not demonstrably real unless it's the standard understanding that it's just a euphemism for sex, and with heteronormative biological recreation as the understanding and everything, and everybody else, it doesn't really matter. It's just whatever they define it as. It just simply doesn't matter. They can't come up with a set of definitions and then metrics, and that's it. And they failed to do this for a very, very long time, for how much money has been dedicated to the subject matter. There's probably a lot of donators that are extremely pissed that what they seem to have donated to was a movement that was phony and was just apparently possibly a guise for a movement to, in some way, shape, or form, Jew bait, tear down Israel, and tear down Judaism, and it was some kind of Jew hate movement, which I have heard. I have myself, when I was on a different side of politics, I have heard a pro-Israel advocate say this, say no, da-da-da-da-da, the Wiccans are Jew haters. And they're with the idea of you just got to give it enough time. You just have to dig into their ideas enough. And I was like, what the fuck? Turns out that in the long run, the issues around third wave feminism and women's magic and shit like that, yeah, they've had to stand up against the point of view of the heteronormativity of humans as it pertains mostly to the doctrine that comes from the Bible. So they got to go after the source. All these people who want orgies have to go after the source of why orgies are bad. Women now have overwhelmingly been bred so that they think this is bad. They don't like the idea. Even Brie Folt in The Mothers discusses if women were to behave in what was normative in a period of a motherhood, they would not like it because of how they would have to have so much sex with people who were undesirable mates because it was custom. They might owe your first mate a favor. Things like that. That's what matriarchy ends up becoming, because that's the wealth, the access to the woman's vagina. There would be a system by which you would have access to the holy vajayjay. Now it's Visa and MasterCard. Oh, and ISP. You do actually have to have an internet connection. Or maybe a cell phone. There's probably other ways, and I just don't know. But it's that simple now. So women have really been totally priced out of this via the middle people who are always a part of it. Because how was she supposed to negotiate this when the dude's right there? That's real rough. No, you get negotiated through your parents, your sister, the other women of the motherhood. They'll get you a good price. They'll get you a good price. See, just flat out, you're enslaved. But we're not going to fuck you up the ass. See, that's a totally different story in a way, but it's also kind of a similar story. And that's the cruelty of the world without kind of the white supremacist Christian worldview of slavery is clearly wrong. I mean, how can you even debate such a thing? The view of the Sons of Albion in the long run, clearly not paying somebody what they're due for their work is wrong. Just grabbing somebody and making them work for you is clearly wrong. And then, eventually what you end up getting with, the American tradition of, what kind of person are you that you would even have people just captive working for you? And it then ends up, well, I kind of like looking rich. Even though really this doesn't produce quite as much profit as I thought it would. And that was another one that eventually ends up, becoming the issue. To make a loop, technology that saves time. that inevitably the best of humans creates technology that saves time and at the same time comes up with kind of a morality that says, it's not only good to do this, it's clearly better because then nobody is asked to work for free, nobody is harmed, and all this is an expansion of technological prowess. And then people get to learn skills with this new technology. Yeah, just some thoughts I was having.